Hey there. Tonight we're looking at medieval England in winter, where cold and darkness set the schedule and life bent around light, heat, and company, shaping what people ate, when they worked, how they prayed, and where they slept. As workdays shrank, meals moved earlier. Heat was shared at a hearth, and candles were rationed in dim lanes, while markets thinned, chores moved indoors, walks after dusk stayed brief, and a curfew bell sent streets to silence. The night didn't mean one long sleep. It often came in two parts. If this calm vibe is your thing, tap like and subscribe, and settle in, unclench your jaw, and feel the warm weight of your blanket while the room goes quiet, and the day lets go. Tell me where you're listening from, what time it is right now, and what you're using for light, phone screen, lamp, or sky glow. History is a room with the door barely open. And with the room calm, let's step into a winter evening centuries ago. An evening bell fades over a narrow lane, and its last notes hang against damp stone. Cobble edges glint with thin frost. Breath shows in brief clouds. A cool draft touches your face as shutters creak into place along the row. Winter is a slow clock with heavy hands. Doors close earlier. Voices drop to a murmur. People call it the curfew bell. In towns, it tells households to damp the fire and keep the streets clear. It is a safety habit across long centuries, and most folks learn its sound young. Inside a timber house, a hearth is banked for the night. An iron poker scrapes the ash. Coals are spread, and a gray lid of cinders settles over their glow. Embers sleep safe till morning, which saves kindling and effort. A thin wood smoke taste lingers near the rafters. A watchman rounds the corner with a small lantern held low. Boots knock the stones. The light wobbles, checks a doorway, and moves on. Time here is called by bells, not screens. If you want the hour, you listen. Tallow and wood smoke drift low and steady along the street. The smell is greasy and warm. Candlelight slips through a shutter gap, thin as a thread. Light and heat are the stakes of the night. They set how long work can run, where people gather, and when talk ends. Without them, rooms shrink, and the cold pushes in, so most steps outdoors stop early. Families aim to finish what must be done before deep dark settles. Animals are fed and tied close. Water jars and firewood come in. Needles, awls, and knives wait by the hearth for whatever a small flame allows. Your hand finds the rough wooden latch, cold under your fingers. The door yields to the pull, and a low glow steadies the room. Let's step through and see how people made their light last. Winter light thins at the door, just a pale stripe on the floor. A child lifts the latch and night presses in. Bowls are stacked. A cloak hangs heavy near the hearth, damp at the hem. The room tightens to its small circle of work. Beyond the cottage, the church bell begins its evening toll. Many places call it the curfew. From cover fire, it tells the village to bank flames, shut shutters, and quiet tools. A watchman in town takes his round with staff and lantern and listens for trouble. In the cottage, a rushlight is set in its iron clip. A twist of dried rush dipped in tallow catches with a small hiss. The shutter is pulled tight, and a cool seam of air slips through the shutter. The flame is thin. The tallow leaves a faint animal tang near the table. Because light is scarce, therefore tasks cluster early. Animals are fed before dusk. Water is drawn while you can still see the path. Mending is kept by the hearth, where fingers can work by feel. It's like living on 10% phone battery after sunset. Talk starts up around the table. Nobody doom-scrolled. There was nothing to scroll. Someone repeats news from market day, soft and short. A psalm or a charm is said. Roads go quiet as town gates close, and the watchman calls the hour now and then. Most houses bank the fire before bed. Ash is pulled over the coals to smother the flame and hold the heat. Open flames are a risk in crowded timber rooms, so this habit saves lives and fuel. A pot is nudged to a cooler edge to keep a slow warmth for morning broth. The bell that began the night is the nudge to do it. Bells and flames slice the evening, not the hands of a clock. A family fits chores to the life of a candle, or to the short, bright burn of a rushlight. When it gutters, the room shrinks to the ember circle and talk slows. Breath hangs a little in the cooler corners. Most of the heat comes from one hard-working hearth. If light was scarce, heat was too. So let's stand by the hearth. Timber beams hold up a blackened roof, and smoke hangs in the dim space just under the rafters. A small fire throws a low orange edge across the packed floor. Cool air creeps at ankle height, while the higher air feels used and heavy. Wattle and daub walls stand around you. They are a lattice of sticks daubed with clay, straw, and dung that dries hard but cracks in cold weather. A thatched roof sits thick on top. It sheds rain well and traps some warmth, yet it also breathes, so the wind noses in at the eaves on rough nights. Because the walls leak heat, therefore people layer wool and huddle. Cloaks stay on indoors. Caps pull down over ears. Children slide closer to laps, and the dog claims a hot patch by the ash edge. It's like one space heater trying to warm the whole house. Rushes cover the floor in fresh or faded mats. They soften the dirt and soak up spills, and they can be swapped when rank. A central open hearth burns in many houses, its smoke finding a louver or hole in the roof. In some places, a simple stone or early brick chimney gives the smoke a path, though it pulls unevenly on still nights. Central heating was, literally, the center where heat happened. Smoke pricks your eyes while your cheeks warm. The front of the body basks and the back stays cold. People angle stools to face the coals and turn every so often, like bread browning on both sides. The heat shapes the whole layout. Benches and stools pull into a half ring. Bed places and pallets cluster in warmer corners behind curtains that trap breath and body heat. In longhouses, the animals at one end add a low, living warmth, and the family sleeps at the other end to share it without the smell right in their faces. Wet shoes and tools dry on pegs near the hearth. The salt, grain, and cheese go where it is cool and dry, so they do not spoil, but dough and ale stand closer when you want them to rise. The open fire answers to many hands, but it also asks for them. Sparks and thatch are an uneasy pair, so a careful eye stays on the ceiling. A fire rake banks the coals at night, and a lid or a thick crust of ash keeps embers asleep till morning. In some towns, a curfew bell tells people to cover fires. A bucket of water or sand sits close. If the wind wakes and the draft shifts, someone nudges a log so the smoke pulls again and the thatch stays safe. Heat is social too. Families cluster by the hearth as a habit. Work moves to the light and warmth. Spinning and mending gather here, and stories meet here, because a voice carries well in a tight circle and the glare of sparks draws the eye. The far end of the room stays cooler and darker, fit for storage or sleep. The near end hums with small chores and talk. Warmth also comes from what cooks. A pot hangs on an iron hook or sits by the coals, and its steam lifts into the room. A low crackle as damp wood finally catches. A steady simmer tempers the chill. scents the air, and means fewer trips outside for fuel. With the hearth steady, the pot is next. What is actually for supper? A blackened pot of pottage hangs from the iron hook. Into it go split peas or beans, barley or oats, onion, a wedge of cabbage, and maybe a rib bone or a sliver of bacon if the house can spare it. Steam beads on a lid and runs in quick rivulets. The mix is thick, steady, and made to stretch, a meal that asks for time more than money. A coarse round of bread sits ready beside the fire. A dull thud as a loaf's crust meets the board. This bread is brown and sturdy, made from rye, maslin, or whatever the mill delivered. A small ale lifts beside it, faintly sour and low in strength. The drink is safe and filling, a mild brew that warms the belly and puts a little water in the day, without the risk of bad water. Because fresh produce is scarce, therefore preserved foods dominate. The pot leans on dried pulses and stored grain. Cabbage keeps better than lettuce. Onions keep better than greens. If a carrot or parsnip lingers in the bin, it goes in. But the pottage is not a parade. Think of it like meal prep, but scaled for an entire season. Salting and smoking keep meat from rotting when the weather swings warmer, though salt is dear and smokers are not in every yard. A cellar, when a family has one, acts like a winter bank, cool and dim for apples, roots, and barrels. Even then, a brine can go weak, a barrel can warp, or a mouse can find the grain. Guests sometimes mean opening a better piece, but the everyday pot keeps to basics. The spice rack was optimism, not reality. A pinch of mustard seed or a hint of pepper might appear in a townhouse. Yet most kitchens lean on herbs, leeks, and the flavor of the fire. Spoilage is a quiet risk, so noses, tongues, and habit do the work that labels do today. Church fast days steer the table as much as the season does. Fridays call for no meat in many places, and Advent or Lent stretch those rules across weeks. Fish steps in when rivers run near, or the market brings salted herring or stockfish. Dairy and eggs can be set aside too, depending on custom and the strictness of the day. The pottage turns leaner, the bread stays the same, and the ale still pours. A bowl fills all the same, though the taste repeats. A winter supper is built for stamina, not surprise. Pottage brings heat and bulk. Bread brings chew and steady calories. Small ale fills the gaps and washes the bowl. The reward is that a household can keep moving and keep warm, even if the tongue gets bored and the same notes play again. A cabbage onion, steam that fogs the rushlight says it is ready. Let the kettle hiss as we take a breath. Before the next chores begin, take a quiet breath by the fire. Take a slow inhale. Let it fill low and steady. Count the rise to 4, even and calm. Hold the breath for a gentle beat. Release it longer than it came in. Let the shoulders drop as the air leaves. Name the small comforts within reach. A kettle's faint hiss beside the hearth. One ember winks and settles deeper. Hear the day you just walked through. Early bells set the pace. Small lights carved out little islands of work and talk. Warm food did its quiet work in every stomach. Because winter nights ran on light and heat, therefore people kept close to hearth and kin. Ease the jaw. Let the teeth part. Smooth the brow with a soft breath in and a looser breath out. Listen for small signs of rest. Hear the wood settling with a tiny pop. The room answers in a hush. Trust that nothing needs rushing. The night is long and patient. Your pace can match it without strain. Take one more calm breath. Make it a touch slower than the first. Let it lift, hold gently, and spill out in an easy fall. Let the room feel wider and warmer with each exhale. Think of it like a dimmer sliding down while the circle of heat draws closer. Stay inside that circle for a moment. When travel slowed, work turned toward what fit the table, the lap, and the low light. With a steadier breath, notice the quiet tasks that fill long evenings. A spindle hums in a small circle. It turns by the hearth in practiced hands, yarn climbing from a distaff tucked against a shoulder. Firelight licks the wall. The room is small and warm at the front, cool at your back. Spinning fills laps while mending weights in a basket. Stockings get darned, seams get tightened, loose hems get caught with a quick whip stitch. Simple tool repair happens here too, the kind you can do without a wide workbench. A strap gets rethreaded. A blade is honed by touch. A cracked bucket ear is bound with cord. A bent needle gleams near the flame. Wool squeaks dryly across fingertips. Time is kept by daylight. Most houses have no clock, so people count by the sun's fall, by a bell from the church, by how far a marked candle has burned. Because daylight is short and hands idle, therefore piecework fills the evenings. Like batching admin work when your Wi-Fi is slow. In the barn, threshers swing flails over sheaves spread on the floor. Grain breaks free with a dull rhythm, dust lifts in the cold air, and breath shows in pale clouds. Winnowing waits for a still day or a good draft, so chaff will fly. Hedgework gets its turn when the weather softens, stakes knocked in, and living stems laid and woven, the sort of job that needs gloves and patience more than sunshine. 9 to 5 wasn't invented yet. Sun to sun was. Light is precious and dear, and every candle stub is a choice. Tallow gives a greasy smoke and a short window of glow, and beeswax is a church luxury, not a cottage habit. Rushlights are cheaper but fickle. They gutter fast if a door opens. Eyes strain under that little pool of light, and a misaimed stitch means unpicking work. No one wants to waste a wick, so families crowd close, and hands learn to read thread by feel as much as by sight. Winter pulls labor into small, steady pieces. A skein spun here, a tear patch there, a latch mended, a bundle of kindling tied. The big jobs wait for spring ground and long sun, while the evenings turn into a quiet tally of simple wins. The payoff is real. The household builds a stock of yarn and repairs that make the busy months smoother. The trade-off is real too. Progress slows and eyes tire, and the mind tracks time by the sag of a candle and the cooling of ashes. Outside, the lane is more mud than road. Carts bog, boots slip, and the dark doubles the guesswork between one farm and the next. Even the dog thinks twice before the yard gate. Step outside, and you can feel the road itself slowing everything down. A rutted lane runs between bare hedges. Frost crunches underfoot. Hoofprints frozen into shallow cups spot the ground. The way pinches around puddles and roots, and the air is sharp. Pack horses pick their line through the ruts. Harness bells clink. Wool bales, salt, and iron pans ride high. A low river swirls dark under a wooden ferry. Simple ferries like this stitch the route across water when the current allows. Travelers join in groups for company, for news, and for finding the way to local markets. Strangers ask to join a band at the market cross. Short days cut plans. Dusk crowds in. Travel shrinks. Because roads are wet and weak, therefore most journeys are brief. The curfew bell turns minds to night work and rest. People aim to leave after the frost sets the ground and to be home before the gray fades. News moves person to person. It's like your whole county switching to airplane mode. Letters are uncommon outside cloisters and great houses. A peddler and a reeve trade messages by hand. Meetings stack at the church door or a neighbor's fire when paths are passable. A modest inn waits at a crossroads. A bench, a mug of ale, and a straw pallet make a night's plan. Religious houses keep a guest hall and a warm bowl, though rules set limits. A stable loft or a guild hall corner can become a bed. Mud slows every wheel. No one missed traffic. They had mud. Carts bog at the ford and need a shove. Boot soles gather a heavy cake. Bridge planks shine with ice and turn slick. Road wardens throw brush into holes, then pray it holds. A breath puffs white against the dark. The numb edge of a gloved hand tests a gate latch. A horn lantern pools a weak circle on the path. Neighbors trade time and goods. A smith files a hinge by lamplight while a boy works the bellows. Spinners twist wool, and brewers mind their vats. Staying home puts hands to repairs and tool care. The village bond tightens as work and talk cycle in a short round. Home production rises, and meals lean on what is stored and shared. Floods cover fords and freeze ferries in place. Snow lays a clean sheet over lanes and hides the ditches. Pack horse, trains, halt at a ridge. And wagons wait at the market edge. Fish from the coast may not arrive. Salt and cloth sit in barns longer. Roads are a bargain with the season, and the price is delay and isolation. Cold air pricks the skin and dries the throat. Close quarters press families and guests into small rooms. Smoke hangs low above the hearth, and shutters leak a slow draft. Old cures and small faiths sit near the fire. Ready. Back inside, people fought the cold with beliefs, herbs, and bed space. A small iron trivet sits by the hearth. Coals glow dull red under a small iron trivet. An herbal infusion steepens in a rough cup near the heat. The room smells faintly of smoke and damp wool. Hands warm on the rim, quiet and steady. Rosemary and honey rising from a wooden cup. Humoral theory guides the choices tonight. People think the body holds 4 humors that drift out of balance in cold, wet months. Winter asks for warming foods, not cooling ones. A bowl of leek and onion pottage counts as warming. Spiced ale or a mulled sip nudges the scale toward heat, like a small sun in a spoon. Winter risk sits in the air. Doors shut, shutters pinned, and bodies pull close to the fire. Animals stand in the byre next door, their breath seeping through planks. Because warmth was scarce and crowds close, therefore, infections spread more easily. Imagine flu season without central heat or pharmacies. You turn first to a neighbor who knows herbs, or to the midwife with a steady hand. The barber surgeon visits the village on market day, ready with a bowl for bleeding and a grip for sore teeth. The monastery infirmary offers a bed, a broth, and a prayer, and it keeps a garden full of simples. Dr. Google was Father Thomas and a herb garden. Most cures come from the hearth. Honey sweetens the cup and coats a cough. Thyme, sage, or horehound might steep, their sharp scent cutting the smoke. A cloth warmed in vinegar and salt can press on a throat. A mustard poultice sits on a chest for a short spell, hot but not burning. Warmth turns practical as the night deepens. Families share beds, 2 or 3, under rough blankets. Bed cords tighten with a twist of a peg, and the ropes give a low creak. Curtains pull close to hold back drafts. A brick, warmed by the coals, slides to the foot of the bed, wrapped in a rag, heat seeping into cold feet. Help has limits, and people know it. A fever can run through a cottage, while the cup gets refilled and the fire stays fed. The monastery may offer rest, yet it cannot push winter out the door. The barber surgeon can ease some pains, but many nights rest on patience and care. Practical warmth, plus belief, shaped nightly routines. The cup goes round. A little spice, a thicker stew, a shorter trip outside. Someone reads a psalm near the light, then slips under the covers early. Steam curls from a rough cup toward the rafters. Quiet settles between breaths, and the room feels smaller and safer. Let your shoulders drop for a moment and let the heat touch your cheeks. Take a breath, then step into the winter calendar's warmest gatherings. Take a slow breath in through your nose. Let an easier breath leave. Let your fingers rest where they are. Shoulders drop with the next breath. Jaw softens a little. Nights come early over fields and lanes. Market doors close sooner, and shutters lean into the dusk. Because the days are short and the roads uncertain, therefore, travel stays careful and close to home. People draw near the hearth, share warmth, and tend small tasks with steady hands. Listen for a bell far off, thin and mild, fading toward silence. Let it mark a pause, the way towns once marked the evening. A candle's halo wavers and settles, wax softens near a small flame, and the scent is simple and clean. Light pools on a table, and tools rest in the dim. Winter nights move slowly, and that is fine. Chores shrink to what fits near the fire, like mending, stirring, or quiet talk. Children doze early, and elders watch the coals. Stretch the next exhale a shade longer than the inhale. Let the breath smooth itself again. Hold the stillness for a heartbeat. Release it gently, like a door eased shut. Keep your mind on simple details, not lists or plans. Parish walls wait a street away, and low voices rise and fall in the cold. Footsteps hush over packed earth. When you are ready, the door opens into the warmth of the winter calendar. A parish nave holds the village tonight. Candlelight trembles on stone and picks out carved faces. Warm wax scent clings to the air. Breath clouds briefly at the open church door. A clerk starts a simple chant, and the low echo hangs under the arch. Parish church candles and songs pull neighbors into the same small pool of light, and the cold sits outside. Advent sets the pace first. It is the weeks of waiting before Christmas, with leaner meals, more prayer, and early dark. Some places keep extra dawn services by candle, and the flame marks both time and hope. Work slows after dusk, so hands mend tools, spin wool, and listen to readings. The church bell cues the town, and people learn the shape of winter by those steady rings. Christmastide breaks the fast with noise and warmth. From the Nativity to Twelfth Night, the parish gathers for Mass, shares better bread and ale, and gives alms to the poor box. Households visit and trade small favors when coin is thin. Because festivals cluster in winter, therefore communities sink rest and charity. The season tells them when to pause and when to give. A midwinter orchard toast fits in here too. In cidershires, neighbors carry a jug into the rows and hail the apple trees. They sing or shout, dip bread in drink, and set it on branches to wake the sap, and a drum or pot makes a brave racket in the frost. Prayers sit beside habit, and no one sees a clash. Like office holiday season, but the office is your whole village. Church ales keep the parish engine running. These are planned drinkings in a church house or a hall, with ale brewed for sale to fund candles, repairs, and relief. A reeve or a warden minds the pot, and a tally marks the take. Guilds hold their own feasts and play a tune, and the floor fills with talk and clatter. The events page was the church door. Notices hang there about the next ale, a saint's day, or a day of work on the common bridge. All this light does a practical job. Shared ritual gives a calendar, spreads food at the edges, and keeps skill moving. A hymn taught tonight is sung at a bedside next week. A charity loaf today is paid back with help at lambing. Lords may open halls for a day, and churchwardens list gifts for wax and wood. The cold feels smaller when faces are known, like a cloak tugged closer by many hands. There are rough edges in the glow. Lively rooms mean occasional quarrels and candle risks. A tallow dip can tip, or a rush on the floor can smolder. A spilled ale might loosen a tongue, and two cousins may need parting. Parish officers try to keep order with a word. A bucket waits by the hearth, and snuffers pinch wicks when the bell says home. Even a calm carol has a way of winding the day down. Voices drop and benches creak. The last candle gets a guard of cupped hands, then a clean pinch. Doors open and cold air meets warm cheeks. Feet find ruts on the lane by habit, and stars help where the moon fails. After songs and ale, beds and embers wait. Latches lift, shutters close, and the red heart of the fire is banked for morning. It's a long winter night, so it is time to speak of sleep itself. A box bed closes around you. Wood on 3 sides, a curtain on the 4th. Through a small gap, red coals show across the room. Ropes give a tired sigh as weight settles. Cool air slides along the floor, but the little booth holds it back. Many homes built these cupboards into the wall to trap warmth and blunt the night air. A straw mattress sits on a rope bed in the main room near the fire. The ropes weave across the frame and must be tightened with a simple key. A canvas tick holds the straw and gets refilled when it flattens or grows musty. Wool blankets and an old cloak go on top, and a cap keeps heat in. A riverstone or brick heated by the hearth gets wrapped in cloth and tucked at the feet. Warmth pools there and fades slow. The night runs long in midwinter because winter nights were long and dark. Therefore, many slept in 2 shifts. People spoke of first sleep and second sleep with no fuss. They might rouse near midnight, sit up, and let thoughts settle. It's like using sleep mode instead of shutting down. The second sleep carried people to dawn, when the ash was stirred and animals stirred too. Quiet hours sat between the sleeps. Someone made a quick prayer or counted beads. Someone opened the hearth lid, poked the coals, and checked the faint heat for morning. Blue light was the moon through a shutter. A rushlight stub might be lit for a moment, then pinched out to save tallow. Couples talked softly. A mother fed a baby, or an older child added a stick and listened to the wind in the thatch. Ropes creaked when bodies turned, and whispers traveled through the timbers. Families shared beds or slept close on pallets, which kept heat but traded privacy. Drafts found the gaps, and rats or fleas tried the margins. So, curtains and shutters were pulled tight. Hangings cut the wind, but by morning the air felt heavy. A boxed bed worked like a small room and stole back warmth. Sleep matched the season instead of the clock. A last round checked the hearth and settled the embers under ash. A faint orange line breathes under the hearth ash, then sinks. Your own room rises around you. Let the past dim softly and carry the warmth you have gathered. The last embers of that old hearth dim and cool. The long room grows silent and the stools stand empty. Your room returns, still and calm. Let the ember glow fade into the dark and settle into your own warm spot. This is your quiet now. Winter gathered people into small pools of light and shared heat. Meals, work, talk, and prayer moved with candles and hearths. Neighbors drew closer, sleeves and shoulders side by side. Nights shaped steady habits around warmth and company. Light meant choices were simple, and people shaped their nights around it. Take one slow breath. In through the nose. Pause a moment. Let it go, long and easy. Let your eyes soften. Thank you for keeping me company at this late hour. If this helped you rest, a soft like and subscribe would mean a lot. It helps more sleepy travelers find us. Tell me in a comment where you listened and what time it is for you right now. Unlace your fingers and give them a gentle stretch. Soften your jaw with a tiny yawn. Let your shoulders settle and be still. Then, let your legs rest heavy. May your rest be steady and your morning come easy. You did enough for today. Let the faint hush of your room sit with you. Maybe the quiet tick of a clock or the soft hum in the walls. Good night.